Event number 1 for the individuals is underway. There are 2 heats, so this is heat number 1. There are 20 men on the floor. Now you watch them exit in this circular fashion because they have to start where they'll finish at the barbell for their clean and jerks. In lane 20, we've got Will Carter. Lane 19, Matthias Porter. Lane 18, Brandon True. Lane 17, Zach Levy. Lane 16, Jake Berman. Lane 15, Austin Spencer. Lane 14, Taylor Self. Lane 13, Garrett Clark. Lane 12, Evan Rogers. Lane 11, Alex Vignier. Lane 10, Marquand Jones. Lane 9, Nate Ackerman. Lane 8, Ben Smith. Lane 7, Marcello Clarizio. Lane 6, Jorge Fernandez. Lane 5, Stefan Cossette. Lane 4, Joseph Perriot. Lane 3, Simon Gelinas. Lane 2, Robert Yates, and lane 1, Brad Wilson. There's a lot of athletes out there, Tasia. Are there any that you are excited to watch specifically in this heat?
In this heat, I'm excited to see what Ben Smith's going to do.
Me too. It's a legend, a former CrossFit Games champion in 2015. I mean, this guy's got a resume longer than I have time to even recite before they enter back in, but exciting to see him on the individual side again.
Yeah, I love seeing him back out there and competing with these, I would say, young guns. You know, he competed back, you said he won in 2015. He's no stranger to the space, coaching too, right, in the game space. It's amazing to see his fitness still be at this level.
Absolutely. I can't help but notice that you've got a really cool shirt on. It says a name of a young woman that I know a thing or two about. Her name is Haley Adams.
Yes.
You guys are very close friends, great relationship between the two of you. You both spent time down at Mayhem together. And I know your relationship goes much further than that. What was it like watching her take the floor for this first event?
Man, it was really emotional, honestly, to see her out there again, just have a big smile on her face, excited to be there. It's hard taking a year off, you know, and really focusing on yourself. And yeah, it was amazing. She did incredible. I had no doubts.
Yeah, no doubts at all, especially for a workout like this. Anything with like a power clean and a power jerk involved, and then you added running to it, and I was like, I mean, I think I saw this workout and I just wrote down Haley Adams, right? Like just all over it. It was her all over. And of course she followed Tia very closely behind. The GOAT's gonna do what the GOAT does. But it was amazing to watch her come out with confidence, enjoy the crowd, and it was very obvious that people were so excited to see her on the competition floor again.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Haley has put in the work, and I think too, to hold her composure coming back after a year off says a lot. You know, sometimes, at least in my experience, you might not relate, maybe you do. When you know a workout's good for you, you're almost more nervous because you feel
much more pressure.
Let's
just be honest. Yeah. It's much more honest. Like some of these guys are feeling the pressure right now, and these are the early leaders. Alex Vignier is coming in, going to be set at his bar, closely followed by Taylor Self and several others. I mean, it's a pack of 5 men, all probably Garrett Clark there closely to finish or closely to follow. These guys are a bit of them all to the far side. Lane 6 is going to be hands on the bar first, and that is going to be Jorge Fernandez. I'm sorry, it's not lane 6. That was lane 7. Jorge Fernandez just getting to his bar. That's Marcello Clarizio. Ben Smith working away at his clean and jerks. Austin Spencer at his barbell. Now, when you look at a workout like this, Tasia, and we see all the men executing singles, what are some focuses that you put into practice with a barbell that's highly cyclical like this?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, being quick back to the ground to grab the bar off the floor, you know, making sure you're setting your back and getting under the jerk to save your legs as much as you can, because you're really going to be burning them out in that run.
Out the door, Alex Vignier to lead, Evan Rogers close to follow, Taylor Self not letting them skip a beat, Garrett Clark right on the heels of Taylor Self, and now we got Nate Ackerman, we've got, it looked like Marcello following very closely, Marquand Jones out the gate, Jorge Fernandez the follow-in, and it's Ben Smith on the heels of Jorge. We've got a little friendly nudging here going on, a little banter it looked like between some of the guys here that are close to the exit pack. It looked like Will Carter pushing on somebody. I wasn't sure exactly who, but it gave him a little nudge, the elbow, just a friendly gesture, like, hey, get up out my space, bro.
Okay.
Get up out my space. So you were talking about your relationship with Haley and her return to the space. It's an amazing thing. But you as an athlete and as a coach, you have had a lot of experiences. You even shared with me that you had some experiences with food, and the relationship with food has been something that has evolved throughout your life. You clearly feel very strongly about that, so strongly that you've created a company that assists women and their relationship with food. Explain to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, for sure. So I created a business, Wonderfully Made. It's a program that helps women heal their relationship with food and their bodies. And, you know, exercise and how we desire health encompasses our physical health, our mental health, and our emotional health. So it's really taking that full picture of, yes, we want to move our bodies and be healthy, but we also want to have health up here in our mind. And so having a good relationship with food and with our body is so key to that.
Yeah, I you know, anytime we're talking nutrition, I'm inspired. And I say that because my family history with nutrition and the things that I watch from a chronic disease perspective impact my family and older generations was something I was quite oblivious to before I found CrossFit. And I say that because CrossFit's methodology, nutrition is the foundation of our pyramid, right? So because of this, we see how it affects each and every aspect: metabolic conditioning, weightlifting, gymnastics. But you mentioned the mind specifically. How are you helping young women navigate, or older women, or anyone navigate their relationship with food from a psychological or emotional perspective?
Yeah, for sure. So it's looking at not having these strict or rigid mindsets or rules, which can come with disordered eating. And a lot of times when we can become more intuitive and be able to listen to our body, listen to our hunger and fullness cues, we'll desire things that make our body feel good. But for me, in my experience, I was so rigid and so focused that it made just disordered things happen, and that affected my body as well, which, you know, I love talking about body image because CrossFit really did help me on my journey to have better body image, of just looking at not what does my body look like, but what is my body doing, and being able to respect your body and appreciate your body for all that it can do.
I love it. I love it. And speaking of bodies and being capable of things, there's a lot of these guys out here that are lifting weights. And they do a lot of lifting in the off season, and they always take into social media, Tasia. They love to show it. This is Austin Hatfield loading it up, as he says, showing us a 300-pound snatch. Now, he's not going to get to showcase that, but we also got Dallin Pepper out there, and it looks like he doesn't have a photo, but he had some cool caption there, and I'm only assuming that the video or photo was going to be there to show us. But the athletes are back in. It looks like it's going to be Evan Rogers, I think, leading the way of this group. Alex Vigneault closely behind, going to be hands on the bar in lane 11, and then it's Taylor Self, my favorite kind of crazy, putting his hands on the bar. Taylor Self with the mean, large Fu Manchu looking mustache almost, and then Garrett Clark right to his right. Now, in case you aren't familiar, Taylor Self is an athlete who has a very high propensity for suffering and doing so very consistently. There's in fact a challenge that exists out there. It's called Kill Taylor. I don't know if you've seen it.
I have not.
This man takes to the YouTubes every week.
Okay.
He offers other people money to do a workout that he does first. And then if they beat him, they get the reward.
So is he programming these to his strengths, or? That's
a great question. I don't know that. Now, all I know is I don't think that he's lost many of them, if any, at this point. In fact, he did one yesterday before he's doing these clean and jerk. Taylor Self out the door from lane 14. Garrett Clark on his heels. Alex Vigneault, Evan Rogers, all out the door as well. Nate Ackerman on his way out the door to follow closely behind. So, yeah, he did one yesterday. It was like bar-facing burpees and double unders. 100 bar-facing burpees, I think, for time, but every minute you had to do like 30 heavy dubs or something like that. Yeah, he did that yesterday.
I love the confidence. I love the openness of sharing like your workouts.
Ben Smith out the door. Marquand Jones right on his heels. But yeah, a little much, it seems right?
Yeah, that'd be a little bit much for me.
And that's why I said he's kind of my favorite kind of crazy. These athletes that have this mind-bending ability to be in a place that we would categorize as a very sucky place to be.
Yeah.
And you know this, it's inherent in our methodology and even in our day in and day out training regimes for the everyday athlete. You've got to have this desire to do hard things.
Yeah.
CrossFit can be that. How did you find yourself back to the wall on a daily basis in a place like Mayhem and other places that you've trained and doing it on a consistent basis?
You know, at Mayhem, it was really easy.
Okay.
We were all very competitive, and I think showing up to every workout, even if you're like, hey, I'm going to, take this one a little bit slower. Once you get into it, you want to win. And so you're going to push yourself and push each other. And I felt like in that environment, it became you know, it's not easy to go to the dark place, but when you're around everyone else doing it, it's easy in some ways.
It's so true, and I think you're even highlighting the importance of community, right? Because it's like, hey, you on one side of the scope, you were committed to personal goals. You wanted to go to the CrossFit Games in which you were successful. You wanted to go on a team in which you were successful. The team a little different than individual, but these athletes are all going individual, but most of them have a team.
Right.
Right? This has been something that has kind of evolved in our space because typically you could kind of be the recluse, just training all day in the gym by yourself. But we're starting to see that's not healthy.
Yeah.
It's not okay to just be in the gym training all the time with no balance in life.
For sure.
Why do you think that balance in life is becoming so much more evident to us as a movement in sport?
I think it just really brings the joy to it. I mean, you have being around people, being connected with people with the same, you know, values and things, wanting to push you, see you do well. It's so important to be surrounded by people who want to lift you up. So I think it makes a difference for sure.
Yeah, and I think we even see that with longevity in the space too. It's like the athletes who really stand the test of time, not just from a durability perspective, but from the side of joy. And we really get to see maturity in their fitness. They're the ones that stay the course the longest, typically. Yep. And those ones do have great balance, right? And even if they are professional exercisers at this point, because we were fortunate enough to, in this space now, have a select few that call themselves professionals in our sport, and they still find ways to tie in friends, tie in family, have focuses outside of the four walls of their affiliate. And all those things really add up.
Yeah, I agree. And I know from my experience being, you know, at Mayhem, at the barn, having people around to, like, just cheer you on, that makes a huge difference. And to laugh, like, even make fun of each other. I mean, that was a huge piece of it, too.
Oh, my goodness. Absolutely. You gotta have fun. You got to have the swagger. You got to have the music. Whatever creates, quote-unquote, the vibes for you. The men are creating a great vibe, as well as the crowd here, as they enter the stadium for their third round of clean and jerks. That means men and women, they have just done their third 800-meter run. So we are 1.5 miles into this slugfest of an event. They're going to put their hands on the bar. Evan Rogers in lane 12 to start the party here on the barbell. Still doing singles. Taylor Self, second hands on. Singles out the gate. Garrett Clark, Alex Vignier, all working. Alex listed as an unaffiliated athlete, but is a police officer in Canada.
Wow.
Father.
Wow.
Yeah, just doing his thing. Been around for years and been consistent. Been to a CrossFit Games as an individual, looking to punch his ticket back.
It's really incredible to see some of these men and women have jobs on top of this job of competing.
And most of them do. Most of them do. If they're fortunate enough to have sponsorship support, it's not enough to be full-time, so they still they appreciate the support that they get so they can spend more time training, but they got to pay the bills, pay the mortgage, pay the insurance, all the adult things. As it looks like Evan is going to be out the door. Taylor second. Alex followed closely. To the bottom right of your screen, we've got also Marquand Jones chipping away at his singles. Now, Marquand was a football player at Clemson University, chipping away. He's been a renowned semifinals level athlete looking to punch his ticket to the CrossFit Games as an individual as well. Nate Ackerman, one of those athletes that would technically fall under the category, leaving the stadium right now as that collegiate age from 18 to 22 that's almost that in between. Former teen games athlete, hasn't been able to develop quite the capacity of some of these elite individual males to punch a ticket to the CrossFit Games. But we were just talking with the director of sport for the Pit Teen Throwdown, and now they have a category specifically for 18 to 22.
Wow.
There's an online qualifier for it.
Okay.
So the same weekend as the Pit Teen Throwdown, where they'll crown the fittest on earth in the teen categories, they compete side by side with those guys. 18 to 22, male, female. I think the top 60 from the online qualifier of each field get to go.
Wow.
So it's really unique and a very great opportunity, in my opinion, of we see all these developing athletes across the space, and that age demographic can sometimes get left in the dust.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, you know, getting as many times, as many reps as you can competing is going to help you when you get onto a stage like this. So if you can get more competition under your belt, do it.
Now Marcello Clarizio still chipping away in lane 7 to the right of your screen. White top, red shorts. Now I gotta say, Tasia, he came out and he was one of the first men in and out on rounds 1 and 2. Now all of a sudden his pace has dramatically slowed.
Yeah, I think we've seen this a couple times with some athletes coming out a little bit too hot. I know that first workout nerves really is something you have to be able to slow down and control and stay in your lane on that first run. And we see that sometimes you get caught up and you can be affected later on.
We've got Brandon True to the left of your screen, still chipping away at his clean and jerks. Just slow and steady. And lane 5, straight but slightly to the right, we've got Stefan Cossette chipping away. He just literally took a kneeling position. Tasia, it's better known as the universal resting posture when you put your hands on your knees and bend over and rest, right? But when you get down to your knees and you're kind of kneeling, you know you're in the pain cave.
Yeah, if you're in a pain cave right now, you're in a little bit of trouble.
A little bit of trouble as we kind of explore. We're 15 minutes and 35 seconds into this workout. Athletes still working here. And the worst news to them is that the men out on the run are going to be entering the stadium very quickly again to begin round 4. Now, I was in discussion with Scott Panchik while the women were going, this is the round, right? Like, this is the round when those who have paced it properly have to make a choice. And the choice is, do I want to go to the CrossFit Games or not?
For sure. I think this is a very important round because once you get through 4, mentally, you know, I've got one more. You can finish that and get through it. But this 4 is where you can either push it or let that pain, that doubt fall back and make you slow down a little bit.
And it's very easy to submit to discomfort. Fear, fatigue makes cowards of us all, right? Popular quote that exists out there. So conditioning your body and conditioning your mind for moments like this is really important. As we watch some of these athletes re-enter the stadium, it's going to be Evan Rogers leading the way, Taylor Self just behind him. Taylor almost looking a little bit more aggressive here on the final stretch. Alex Vignier right there behind Taylor. And then it looks like Garrett Clark shortly following this lead pack here. Now these men all ironically are on the back half of this workout, so they've got to run the furthest because of course that's where they started. Now this is round 4. They're going to do 10 more clean and jerks. That will make them 40 deep. And there's a bit of gamesmanship that needs to come into play here, right? When you know that you've got still 800 meters ahead of you, you've got to think, do I increase the speed of the barbell? Will that cost me on the run? Because clearly there's a bit of an imbalance here with this test, right? Like you're spending the vast majority of your time out on the run, not at the barbell, but this contributes to how you run.
It does, for sure. And this is why you have to play to your strength and have your own game plan, because maybe someone going slower on the barbell means they'll be able to go faster on the run and vice versa. So you can't get wrapped up in what someone else is doing. You need to do what's going to make you go the best.
That's right. Taylor Self, first one out the door. This is important for Taylor because he's got to travel the furthest to his barbell. So that's a big thing. Evan, Alex Vignier, all right there on his heels. Garrett Clark still with 2 reps left. Definitely slowed down his barbell cycling in this round. You can tell by his body language, Tasia, that he's kind of like faltering around before he picks up the bar. A little less intentionality to get his hands back on. As I can completely understand, he's not in a rush.
Yeah, I would be right there too.
Marquand Jones with a hand up in the air. Nate Ackerman with a hand up, and the legend Ben Smith also with a hand in the air. Jorge Fernandez to the right of your screen in the red shorts, chipping away. Jorge Fernandez, a part of CrossFit Invictus last year, won the Affiliate Cup. Fittest team on earth, made the choice, made the move down to Mayhem, Cookeville, to spend his time with a great community, just like you did, Tasia. And now he's looking to punch his ticket as an individual.
Yeah, I think it's a great place to be if you're trying to qualify to the CrossFit Games, that's for sure.
We've got Will Carter now on the run. We've got Jake Berman starting his final run. Jorge now finally moving. Nate Ackerman finally moving. Lane 17, Zach Levy getting his hands back on the bar, executing singles. We've got 3 reps left in lane 3 for Simon Yelinas, and we've got men still entering the competition floor to their barbells to start their clean and jerks on round number 4. And they're not the last. There's going to be a couple other guys bringing up the backside of this heat. Now, Tasia, in your experience as an athlete, Is this event a jam for you, or is this some damage control?
This would be damage control for me. There's a little bit too much running out there.
This would probably be one of my favorite cups of tea of the weekend.
Okay, so you like the running.
I do. I'm good enough at running for it to be a pretty strong suit.
Yeah.
And good enough at a barbell for it not to slow down my running too much.
Okay.
You know? So I like this. The combination, I was talking with Scott, the combination of these two things are like two of my better finishes at the games. Murph in 2015 and then heavy DT.
Okay.
They're polarizing opposites, but like those were my two top 10 finishes. You
Which
know,
is
like,
pretty incredible to have that variation in strength.
Well, I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah.
It turns out I always had pretty good measurable fitness, but then sometimes putting together all the skills that we got to execute, I'd always still be working on those. I got some long old arms, and you know, sometimes it's not always best for getting upside down and
good
all
for
those,
deadlifts though.
Oh my. The more of those, the better. The more of those, the better. Folks, we got athletes still joining us here to begin their round of 4. We talked about this a little bit, Tasia. These were a couple of the athletes where you were like, okay, body language-wise, these guys dug themselves a little deep in the first 2 rounds and made round 3 be quite tiresome and monotonous for them.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to recover if you dig yourself into a hole on this because there's not really any place to breathe or get any reprieve. So if you're in a hole, you might be in trouble.
All right, we talked about his ability to suffer. It is Taylor Self riding the red line all the way to his barbell. Now, folks, he's got a long way to come. He's got to come all the way to the bottom of your screen here in lane 15. So he's not there yet, but it looks like he's been able to create enough separation between himself and the fellow competitors, Evan Rogers, Alex Vigneault, on the heels of one another. Taylor's going to be right there in lane 14. I'm sorry, hands on bar, looking to make quick work. He's going to still do singles, but he's going to have a couple reps of a lead. Now, can one of these men pick up the bar and start doing touch and go? Taylor's 3 reps in. Alex Vigneault is going to make fast work of this bar. He's doing singles, though. Evan Rogers also singles. 5 reps to go for Taylor Self. Bottom left, 4 reps to go. No one's holding on to that bar, Tasia. It looks like a different race than what we're there for almost the women athletes.
Yeah, the women came in going touch and go, all on fire.
We talked about this a little bit, though. This could mean that these men actually nailed the pacing just right, though.
True.
Sometimes you come in, and if you can just rip off 10 touch and go like it's nothing, maybe you could have run faster.
True.
And the truth is that that's where you spend most of the workout. But it's Taylor Self leaning into the pain cave. 22-29 for him unofficially. He handles business and gets the job done. He said these guys weren't going to hang with me on Kill Taylor today. But also these guys know this, and you know this, Tasia, that there's 20 men chomping at the bit, looking at just that time alone and that time to beat.
Yeah, absolutely. It's hard when you're in Heat 1 because you don't get to see what's happening in Heat 2, so you got to just go for it. And then Heat 2 has a slight advantage of knowing what that time to beat is.
Garrett Clark also doing singles. Everyone choosing to do singles here on the back half of this workout. Ben Smith chipping away. Marquand Jones, 4 reps to go, bottom right. Austin Spencer making work of his barbell. 5 reps to go with a hand in the air. Jake Berman making a slight work of these clean and jerks. Pretty substantial early arm bend for Jake. Getting that bar all the way into his hip. Makes it a little bit easier to jump that thing to his front rack position. Jorge chipping away, hand up in the air. Marquand is done. Ben Smith done. Berman done. Almost hits the floor before his barbell does. Just nudged out Austin Spencer too. That was big for Jake. Jorge Fernandez, 2 reps left. Nate Ackerman, still no hand in the air for Nate. Jorge done. 23:56. Ackerman, 1 rep left. I lied, 2 reps left. I've been way off. It's like from this perspective, I couldn't see his judge's hands. He had 3 reps left. I thought it was 1, but he is done. Lane number 3, only athlete coming in and doing touch and go reps. That's Simon Gielenis. And he finished touch and go style, smooth. Zachary Levy there finishing lane number 1. Also Brad Wilson across the finish line. Now this looks like Marcello Clarizio making his way to the barbell. White top, red shorts, still gonna be chipping away at these things. Let's see, did Marcello save it for touch and go reps? He did not. Singles out the gate. Now Tasia, talk to me a little bit. Does that tell you anything? Does, like, in your mind, should the workout have been heavier for the women? Should have been lighter for the men? Is this just what we see?
I think that the weight differential, that the women are going to move 125 a little bit easier than the men will move 185. But I do think that 10-pound jump to 135 might have really changed it up a lot. So I think it was a good weight distribution for sure. I think it was the right thing. But it was exciting to see women move that weight, touch and go at the end like that.
It was. And you know, we're at a space in our sport where we have enough data. I mean, I certainly work with enough athletes to know. We watched lane number 4, Joseph Piero knocking out the touch and go reps though, like it's nothing. He heard us talking Tasia and he was like, I got a show for him. I'm here to make the people, oh, he got a no rep. He stepped out from under that bar just a hair too early. But Tasia, what I was getting at is that it seems as though these sub-maximal loads, right? Not anything close to 100 max necessarily for the field at large, that women tend to handle loads heavier and easier than the men comparatively.
For sure.
So we'll use, for example, this barbell weight at 185, 125. Relative to the field, 125 at 70% of 185 is lighter for the women.
Yeah.
Now, is it literal? No, but it's just an expression when it comes to fitness and their capacity. It's certainly obvious. 95-pound thruster for a female athlete is handled lighter and faster than a 135-pound thruster for a male athlete.
Yeah.
Does that call for us to change different programming or play off a different percentage? I don't know that that's the case, but it's simply what we can see. And so when we have this assumption, some of the women athletes have to make different considerations with like the last round or maybe the last 2 rounds than some of the male athletes and what they can expect from the field.
Absolutely.
We've got 1 rep remaining for lane number 2, and that will do it for Robert Yates. We still have more athletes entering the field of play. In lane number 18, it is Brandon True coming in with that oh-so-appropriate neon green crop top.
I like it. I've seen those crop tops out there these days for the men.
I mean, he got the crop top. He got the braid on top with the shaved head on the sides. I'm feeling the style. But I'll tell you, I'm very impressed. Lane 5, the barbell looking real light for Stefan Cossette here. Now he rattled off 6 touch and go reps. Now he's into singles. Could it have been enough? But it looks like now we've got touch and go going down back in lane 18 with Brandon True. And he does it. Across the finish line just in the nick of time. And he hit the floor before his barbell. 1 rep to go. And that'll do it. So it was Taylor Self that won heat number